a seconder usually when I propose this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
A representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele, backwoods Southern lawyer. I've got my partner in crime, Paul Ripp, here with me today. How you doing, Mr. Ripp?
I've chainsawed my way here after 2 weeks.
And yeah, we had a bit of a calamity around here. Rains and I did a podcast right before, and you couldn't get up here because of the weather. And, we had a mess around here. I have put up a video montage of where everybody thought this thing was going from development to landfall to going through Dothan and Atlanta and on across South Carolina into the Atlantic again. Anyway, we'll throw that up at the end as well as another video that you and I had talked about previously. So let's start off with the big news that we all woke up to this morning, and I think we might just watch a little video of that real quick. Does that suit you?
Yeah.
All right, let's
go with that first.
Let's check that out. And
the coronavirus.
It was a dizzying few hours. It started with word that Hope Hicks, who is one of the president's closest advisors, had contracted the virus.
And she has been traveling a lot with the president this week. She flew on Air Force One to and from Tuesday's debate. Again, on Wednesday, she boarded Marine One. That's the president and first lady have announced that they have both tested positive for the coronavirus.
It was a
well, Mr. Ripp.
First of all, I was a little bit surprised. I knew that Hope had, resigned not too long ago, I believe last year. And I wasn't really sure that she was back on full time. So I was a little bit surprised that Hope Hicks was there. But then when I saw them walking to the plane, every one of them, no mask. Of course, every one of them had those $300, Air Force glasses on, sunglasses.
Right.
But no mask or anything. And then they get in a plane, a closed up plane all together. I sure hope everybody, comes out of this okay. I don't wish anyone to get sick, but with no precautions at all like that and meeting people from everywhere, it's pretty irresponsible of everyone, to tell you the truth. Doesn't send a good message, that's for sure.
So then what I've heard so far is that she tested positive and he went ahead and went to a rally anyway, not knowing if he was positive or not. And then he tested positive last night, he and the first lady. And then slowly this morning, we've had a trickle of information coming out of the White House that like Mike Pompeo did tested negative. Some other key administration figures, the vice president tested negative.
Biden tested negative.
Thank goodness. So we're moving on to the 25th Amendment. Are you familiar with this? When the president becomes incapacitated for any reason?
Right.
So, and Raines requested this montage of photographs, and he's not here to raise Cain about them, but if you'll recall, Woodrow Wilson here, he had a stroke, and they weekended Bernied his ass for a year. Nobody knew that he was incapacitated. And then, of course, half the world didn't know that FDR was in a wheelchair. Reagan actually passed the football to Bush at one point in time when he was unconscious, and then I believe it was Bush 43 that when he had a colonoscopy, Cheney over here had the football during that.
Well, yeah.
So it's not unheard of for when a president becomes unconscious or incapacitated that they will pass
And the other thing with Cheney, too, Harry, is you don't want to go hunting with him.
No, especially quail hunting.
He'll shoot you in the back.
Maybe. Or in the front. That's the Cheney style. He'll shoot you in the front. Well, so while we're on coronavirus, let's do that real quick. Let me see if I can get these to share with you guys. 34,353,000 confirmed global cases with 1,023,000 deaths at this point.
And how many in the United States?
7,282,000 confirmed cases with 207,000 deaths. Let's just say 208.
So 208, 34,000 global cases,
34 million.
34 million, 1 million deaths globally. The president has it, the first lady has it, and yet there's some people that think this is a hoax.
And been making fun of me and you since this thing kicked off.
Right. Don't wear a mask. Let me tell you, I just got back from Birmingham, Harry, and downtown Birmingham, VA, that whole area, all the University of Alabama students, you don't see anyone without a mask. Everyone's wearing a mask there.
Well, let's look at our Alabama numbers like we always do. You see this number right here?
Yeah, we've been up and down.
Well, we're still batting 1,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
1,000 new cases a day is about the norm, and it has been for, since what is that?
What?
The month of
Do you
August.
have the Peak City in Alabama?
I'm sure there is a map, but I don't want to
Yeah.
fool with that while we're casting.
Right.
So 2,500 deaths and 156,000 cases in Alabama, and like I said, we're rocking along. But you see, we had this big backlog of tests that all got reported on one day.
Correct.
2,400, and that accounts for these little lulls in here. That's why I'm saying, averaging
Right.
around 1,000 cases a day. So let's talk about the debate.
Debate? What debate?
Holy hellfire!
What debate?
That's a good question.
Oh, you mean the kids' argument?
It was like a hockey match.
You mean
It was
the
a
kids-
debate and a hockey match broke out.
The kids' argument there. Yeah.
Wow. So
Pretty depressing, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or independent. That was a pretty depressing display of democracy, ladies and gentlemen. No matter who you are for or against, that has embarrassed the United States around the world, believe it or not.
Well, I tweeted, "This is a total embarrassment," within about 4 minutes of that debate starting, and I had no idea that it had just begun. I mean, when you take some super conservative personality like Chris Wallace and call him liberal news media and say he's being unfair to you, I don't know.
Well, I think we've all got off track, liberal and conservative, and I mean that's killing us. That's just used to divide us. It's supposed to be, a two-party system that's healthy, and we negotiate and cooperate with each other some sort. But where we're going now is just total hostility. We're just spinning our wheels. It's like, let's erase something that happened with 2 presidents ago, So I don't know where we're going with this, but I'll be glad when November 3rd comes around and everybody gets to vote. Of course, then we have to stand by, and God knows when we'll have the results. And then will come the final thing as to, will everybody accept the results?
Well, we've been here before.
Right.
And those of us who are students of the game know exactly how Bush versus Gore played out. It was a coin flip between the 2 former secretaries of state representing each party to ensure that some manure like this didn't happen in, what was that, the 2000 election?
2000.
Yeah.
The tabs, right?
Yeah, the hanging chads.
Hanging chads, that's what it was.
Florida.
Hanging chads, right.
I'm sure there'll be a hotbed of corruption and illegal mail-in ballots and everything else they're setting up. So let's talk about a little political intrigue going on around. Yeah.
Okay.
So right now so going back to the hurricane, this thing was supposed to hit New Orleans or Gulfport, and it hooked back and came. Landfall was
Gulf
Little
Shores.
Lagoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I noticed, so up here in Bay Minette, we were on the west side of the eye wall, which means we had a north wind, and I noticed most of your trees were blown down from the east.
Correct.
And all of our trees are blown down from the north. So you can pretty much, I don't believe this track is accurate. I believe that it went a little more to the east than that.
Yeah.
And because of that, Bay Minette, everything here is, it's a straight line winds out of the north. And I think we had a tornado come through. And I did a video right around that I'll throw up on the end of this video as well. Don't want to bore anybody with it while we're doing this. But anyway, landfall, we had the worst of our winds on the west side of the eye wall between 7:30 and 9 o'clock Wednesday morning. So being a good preparer like I am, I went and I had 3 Yetis full of ice on Monday, and by Friday they were gone. And we didn't have power, and I had a generator, and I was trying to keep my refrigerator and my mother's refrigerator across town. And when you watch the montage, she lost almost every tree in her yard. It's a miracle none of them hit her house. But of course, they ended up on her neighbor's house. But long story short, on Friday there was no ice to be had in North Baldwin County. It wasn't until Monday. Was it even Monday? Maybe it was Tuesday before the National Guard got here with tarps for people's roofs and MREs and water. And that only lasted like 2 days up here. We never had, let's see, maybe the Red Cross fed 1 day up here. But I mean, this place looks like Tuscaloosa after the tornadoes. I was up there helping out, and there was Red Cross vans driving all around, handing out water and everything. And every tree that's been removed in this, at least in my subdivision, was removed by private individuals. It wasn't like the city was out here cutting trees down, or the county was out here cutting trees down. So anyway, Thursday morning after the hurricane, Will Ainsworth, the lieutenant governor, comes down and hooks up with who? The tax man, Chris Elliott, State Senator Elliott. So they go flying around in it, and he was actually, I was listening to 106.5, and he was on there, and he goes, "I got to go, Sean. I'm getting on a helicopter with the lieutenant governor," and he signs off. So anyway, at the same time, the governor was here, and she came to the EMA and met with everybody. Well, where's Chris? He's off flying because the governor and he have beef over him not being able to deliver on this toll bridge and getting kicked off our little committee and having his feelings hurt. Of course, he's flying around with the heir apparent to the governorship, right? So he then on Monday after the hurricane showed up on the EMA call as speaking for local government elected officials who didn't want to peeve off the governor. So he was speaking on their behalf, right?
Right.
Saying that state EMA wasn't doing their job. And then, of course, the governor responded. She said, well, it's real easy to Monday morning quarterback when you've never been in the game and you've never, you're not subject to injury.
Right.
And your uniform's squeaky clean, and you're sitting down there saying we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Now, this is what's funny to me. The governor is in his very own party. His party had a hand in deciding who the EMA director was going to be for the state of Alabama. And, it's foolish for him to have gone after her.
Well, Chris just tries to get any type of attention that he can.
Right. Any kind of attention is good attention.
Anything doesn't make any difference what it is, and usually backfires on him. And then, there was a little blip I caught too, Harry, about the governor's a little peeved as well at Hoss Mack. I think he was trying to have a emergency declaration, evacuation call made, and the governor felt like he waited too late to have that made, and by going ahead with it would be even more dangerous. So they got overruled, but it sounds to me like the governor has her own opinion of Baldwin County and its sheriff's department and some of the elected officials.
And she's from Camden. She's from South Alabama. Why would we want to make an enemy of the governor? And we're the reddest part of the state.
This is Baldwin County.
We're the Republic. Yeah, we do things different, all right. Yeah. Let's see if we can't make the governor just as mad as a hornet with us when we need her help like no other time before.
Right. That's why we didn't get any of the BP money.
So let's explain this to people. So one of the articles from the Lagniappe was related to this. Actually, the National Weather Service kind of missed it because they said this thing was going to come right up the middle of Mobile Bay.
Correct.
And Raines was saying, you know, they're talking about a 9-foot storm surge. Well, a 9-foot storm surge would have topped this baby right here. And so, Paul, can you give us a little rundown of was it Gabe or Jason who wrote that article? Do you know?
Well, now the very first lanyap that I ever missed in probably years was the September 23rd one, and that's the one that covered the storm. So I got that from you this morning, Harry, when I got here. And there were 4 good articles in there. One is a near miss. Mobile Baykeeper flooding remains a concern for coal ash at Plant Berry. That's by Jason Johnson. And this is talking about the Alabama Power plant, Berry steam plant, where 21 million cubic yards of spent coal ash is. At present, the investor-owned utility is planning to dewater, consolidate, or cover or cap the material and then leave it in perpetuity in the unlined pond where it has accumulated for decades. Both opinions, the removal and the cap in place, have previously been deemed acceptable by the federal government. Now, you know, Baykeepers has been really staying on top of this, Cade Kessler, and one of the things that they saw with this one was that it wasn't a water problem so much up there, as well as we see in Baldwin County a lot of places. It was the wind and trees. Now, historically, the river around the Berry plant has been much higher than what it has been, which is 10, 12 feet. Through data has only been recorded for a few decades. Its highest crest was 18 feet in 1961. However, it's not uncommon for the river to get that high. And it
did this year.
And it has exceeded 12 feet 4 times this year already and rose above 17 feet in February. So there's quite a bit to be concerned about there, I can tell you. And I know they are. I hope Mobile Baykeeper stays on it, and I hope Mobile Baykeeper isn't going to be the one that has the last word and say, well, I told you so if we have a mistake. You want me to go through some of these lanyap things?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, sure. And then in the same issue, I'm sure you can go back online and read these on the same issue. We're sorry to say that Forrest Gump's author, Winston Groom, dies at 77. It's a nice article in there by Gabe Times. And Mr. Groom really brought Alabama into the limelight, and people from all over the world, if they didn't know where Alabama was, they knew where it was after that. And also in that...
Did you know that he wrote a lot of nonfiction?
Yeah.
Have you ever read any of it? It's pretty good.
I can't remember the one I read. It is pretty good.
Thank you, Pat Hudson. She was my senior English teacher. She made us read Forrest Gump before the movie.
Yeah,
because he was an author.
Well, how'd you think about that?
About the movie?
No, the movie versus the book.
I thought the book was a little far-fetched. I liked it a lot more. I thought the movie version was actually better.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
Huh. All right.
I was 17, man. Come on.
Well, you know, one of the things that I don't know how many people travel internationally a lot, but I'll go down to Mexico a lot and different places like that, and it always surprises me.
Not right now, stinky kid.
But
can't come in our country.
But you see, the Forrest Gump restaurant is in the airports.
Bubba Gump restaurants.
Bubba Gump restaurants.
Well, I hope he got a piece of that, and I hope he died with a pile of money.
I doubt if he got a piece of that. All right. Also, about a 4 or 5 page article, battered Baldwin, Hurricane Sally slams Baldwin County officials pursue full recovery, by Gabe Times. One thing that was interesting there is Kathleen Pizziola went to the Baldwin County Commission. I remember this, about a 32-mile detour created by the county in July when the Highway Department began a project to replace the deteriorating single-lane wooden bridge on Lindholm Road.
And 17 residents are affected, and there just ain't, there's some things just practically you can't do anything about it
As
without
well-
spending $700. I mean, we could have built a new bridge before we tore the old one down and acquired right away next to it, and
Well, it was. She predicted that it was going to create a timely, safety and health issue, and she turns out to be right. Now in that Styx River area, the county reported more than 10 roads were totally impassable even after debris was removed, and another 26 roads had limited access. Particularly affected were those on Fish River, Styx River, and Perdido basins. But it's about a 6-page article that is very worthwhile going through. Then on the same, of course, like I said, I had not read these, and I hope that Lagniappe is going to put them in one of their series. But there were 2 articles in that same September 23rd issue, Damn the Torpedoes by Rob Holbert, mind-blowing contract in the Bayou. And then the other one in the same article, publication, was Golden Parachutes, Bayou Housing Board shakeup leads to resignations and a criminal inquiry. That's by Jason Johnson. And very, very interesting reading. And that goes into the current Lagniappe. And the current Lagniappe is, let's see, this one is the third in a series. Like I said, I hope they put this in a series. A slap to my face, Biola Battery community shocked by the housing board contracts. And these are contracts that the housing board there got involved in. Back in 2013, they formed the Biola Battery Housing Authority, and Mr. Huddleston was hired to the authority in May 13, and along with her, Miss Huddleston, along with her husband, Darrell Wilson, a former Biola Battery police captain and housing board member. There should have been the first red flag. After voting to appoint
You'd be
Huddleston,
surprised how many people find themselves while being on the board to be the executive director or the not unusual at all in my experience.
Well, yeah, but when you bounce from a board member to taking home money on a personal basis,
just trust me.
And then when outgoing Mayor Terry Downey spurred a shakeup on the board over the summer, both Huddleston and Wilson resigned. Documents uncovered afterward revealed that the couple had been awarded a robust salary of $120,000 for Huddleston, $89,000 for Wilson, and annual bonuses and a retirement package passed by the board July 21st, giving the pair, and listen to me, people, a combined $4.1 million to be paid in a lump sum. How in the hell did they get that approved?
Paul.
What?
It's Mobile County. It will be investigated.
Yeah.
As opposed to this kind of horse shit going on 24/7 over here.
Well, then...
But it's all catalyst people, so nobody looks at it.
Well, then it became time to renew Huddleston and Wilson's employment contracts this year. The board agreed to establish the retirement amounts for the couple, pledging to fund it with nearly entire proceeds of the Safe Harbor. That's the name of the
I
Safe Harbor.
got no problems with their salaries. There are a lot of people, if you wanted me to go run that damn housing board, you'd have to pay me $100,000 because it's a 24/7 job if you're doing it right.
Well,
unfortunately, there are all kinds of complaints about the conditions of these housing authority-owned apartments.
Biola Battery Mayor-elect Henry Barnes said he was shocked to learn about the contracts at Safe Harbor. Exaggerating, Barnes said that he probably had 3,000 to 4,000 complaints from Safe Harbor residents over the years, but voted along with the rest of the city council in 2016 to give the property to the housing authority. Now, that's the same problem that you could run into in Fairhope, where they've held on to the airport as a separate entity, even though by appropriation, the Fairhope City is paying for it. But this all started also in the housing development. One of the things that our consumer interest is that this did start by whistleblowers, and this couple was hired to go in there and take over and clean things up. They increased the rent when they said they weren't going to increase the rent. They got rid of anybody that complained, and they evicted some people not on a fair basis. So you're right, Harry. This is going to head to the courts.
Right.
And
It'll be investigated over
correct,
Mobile County.
correct. It's Mobile County. It's not Baldwin County, people. Baldwin County, you can get away with anything. Then here's the one I really like, Harry. In the same edition here, this is the new edition of the Lagniappe this week. Two more articles that are interesting. One is good work. Lawmakers look to protect homeowners from fraudulent contractors. Representative Matt Simpson sponsors HB 1940 to create in Alabama a state of emergency Consumer Protection Act.
Jesus de Cristo. I mean, I'm swearing in Spanish. This guy just kills me.
Okay. I haven't seen this week's Lagniappe, so this is news to me. Keep talking.
Okay.
All these Republicans that want to create all this horse shit.
Now, think about this. Think about this, folks. We're in one of the most corrupt counties in the state of Alabama,
where they're stealing us blind.
Stealing us blind. Council members.
Don't we have law enforcement and revenuers who make sure that people have business? I mean, wouldn't you think the county would have their people out in force? Everybody running a chainsaw. Hey, buddy, where's your business license?
But that's right.
We got to create a special authority that I'm sure the sheriff will be in charge of if Simpson has anything to say about it.
So
who's going to staff it? Who's going to fund it?
We're looking to protect consumers.
Sounds like something Kamala Harris came up with. Please
something
continue.
to protect consumers from people with chainsaws, but the politicians can get in your pocket anytime you want.
Gotcha.
This is a type of thing. This is a type of thing that Elliott and the politicians do around here all the time. Grandstanding, which really doesn't mean anything. All the laws for consumer protection on storms are well in place.
All right, I got to back up because you just made me remember something that happened. Right. So after the governor came back and said about the Monday morning quarterbacking, okay?
Right.
The governor
met with the tax man,
right? And then you were also saying that we had asked for an evacuation order from the governor. The governor's chief of staff retorted,
Hoss Mack,
that as far as the governor knew, Baldwin County wasn't into enforcing orders, so why would they ask for one? Right? And so then Elliott's on the radio, they're grilling him about it. Hey man, why would you poke the bear of the governor or whatever? And he's like, saying I'm Monday morning quarterback, and he said I'm on calls with people up to my belly button in water down in Josephine trying to help people. Well, you know who lives in Josephine? His daddy does. He wasn't down there helping Joe Public. He was over there at his daddy's house, just like I was at my mama's house right after all this stuff happened.
I've never seen Chris dirty.
Yeah. Oh, he said I'm down in the mud. I'm just covered in mud.
Even when he had a so-called restoration company.
I've seen him covered in a cold sweat when he thought he was going to prosecute him for that DUI. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
He slipped out of that pretty easy.
I got to give the people what they want, and the reason they watch our podcast is because we know stuff like this.
Right. And the other thing that seems to, is in this week's Lagniappe Political Push Coalition formed to support the toll plan for Beach Express extension. Now they've been working on this years, Baldwin Beach Express. It's roughly 24 miles between Interstate 10 and 65. And they have a group, again, our tax man there is explaining it's Choose 2 Coalition. The toll will be restricted to the length of the new roadway and would primarily be the burden of tourists in the area. So I know that goes for everybody to be happy with that that lives down here. The estimated cost is around $200 million. Now, this similar measure was defeated by 52% of Baldwin County voters in 2016, but McMillan said that the new proposal is more defined and gives them the ability on tolling. That I do expect that proposal will go through. I really do believe that'll be voted in.
Say that one more time.
That's the amendment for the Beach Express, the 24 miles of toll. And
why do you think people would be in support of that?
Well, I think mainly because it does not involve local people being taxed for a tourist expressway. However, it is an evacuation route. But I think Baldwin County residents are looking at it like, okay, here, we can put this together and we don't have to come up with any extra money. So that's the only thing I can see.
Okay, so Robertsdale and Summerdale and Alberta and everybody, Foley, they're all growing towards the Beach Express, right?
Right.
And the 59 corridor is, all I can say is
jammed up.
It is, but if you don't control access, if you don't have frontage roads, if you let everybody that comes in there and puts in a big enough development put a stoplight on this thing, all you're going to have is another 59. Right. And they've done a very poor job of access control so far as I'm concerned.
Well, the opposition. Some of the opposition on this is not so much based on another evacuation route, but the businesses on 59 are somewhat concerned as
you
to
think they should be?
What would be sucked off of 59 onto this. Now, that's Amendment 2, and it'll appear on the Baldwin County ballots on November 3rd, along with 3 county-wide amendments to create landmark districts in unincorporated Josephine, Rosenton, and Barnwell. If approved, neighboring cities would be prevented from legislative annexation within the districts without the residents' approvals. Now, this is going to bring up some very interesting questions. Of course, nobody's going to be discussing them, and the tax man's not going to be wanting to talk about it, but what happens, let's say, in the event like Fairhope, where the police jurisdiction is 88 square miles, you got the water authority, the fire department, all of that. Now, all of a sudden, these landmark districts are independent of any annexation, so then why would the municipality provide free services outside their municipality?
I'm sure there's statutory.
I don't know.
Well,
I think it's a municipal regulation. I think the municipality can say, "Hey, look, you don't want to be involved with the city, then so be it."
I missed one thing. So, according to Commissioner Elliott, Governor Ivey came out of her cryo sleep, and the groundhog saw her shadow, and she's extended the safer at home and mask order 5 more weeks into November.
Well, I think she's done a good job on that front, to be honest with you.
Well, she's done more than the president
She's
has.
done much more than I expected.
With a tiny little budget, she's done a pretty good job.
Right.
And having jackasses in her own party tearing her down, I don't understand the logic in that.
And then I got just a few other shorts, Harry.
Well,
let
me get through this real quick, just so I can be done with this. Municipal runoffs are October 6, 2020. That is next Tuesday.
Don't elect any Catalyst people. Please pay attention to who you're voting for.
There's the mayor who's been charged with harassment for slapping the magistrate, who he then fired, and who knows.
Why would you vote for a mayor that has slapped the magistrate in City Hall? Goodness gracious.
Yep. So between that and of course Fairhope's That's all done.
Yeah, but Daphne, we got Mr. Lejeune over there fighting a catalyst candidate off as well. Let's
Exactly.
give Mr. Lejeune a good shot there. Everybody, he's been a public servant for quite some time, well known in Daphne. And he's got the number one credential that you need, and that is that he's not a developer or paid by developers.
That's right. Or nor is he married to a developer that we know of, or
Right.
I mean, there's
right. There's always
nor
a
does his
connection.
wife work for a developer. Nor is she the real estate agent for a developer that
he
might
did-
be in his courtroom.
He didn't show up on the spider graph. Remember?
No. I don't see him on the spider
Right.
graph.
Right.
All right. So go ahead and do your other two.
Okay, well, those that have been following the Paula Donardi McSherry case in Fairhope, Marcus McDowell, the city attorney, failed to file the charges on assault. Then those charges ended up, through statute of limitations, being dropped. Then the judge, as I understood, gave him 14 days to amend it and correct it. He did not do that. Then the mayor and myself at the city council meeting in May approached the municipal attorney, who reprimanded us both in our lack of legal understanding and said that he would be filing something. He did not. And then at the end of this podcast, you'll see a little blip of the last time I went there, when the entire city council and the municipal attorney, the cat had their tongue. They wouldn't even make one single response. I also at that meeting informed them of the Breland lawsuit. Those of you that aren't familiar with that in Fairhope, this goes back to even before, no, not before, sorry, in between the Triangle lawsuit, but it's 10, 12 years old. And this has happened before on the Triangle lawsuit, and that's where the city tried to push off the legal fees onto the insurance company, and the insurance company pushed back and said, no, wait a minute, you don't have what we consider basis or standing in the lawsuit, and we're going to back out. So that was settled, and now the city has to pay for those fees. The city council has yet to mention anything about this at all to the general public. They haven't brought it up one bit. And in the last 2 weeks have been extremely eventful in my life. I spent 4 or 5 days up in Birmingham, and I had a very good friend that lost his grandson to a motorcycle accident, so it's really been something. And I was not able to show up at Monday night's meeting of Fairhope City Council, and lo and behold, Mr. Jonathan Lucia showed up. He's living in the Retreat Apartments, which is on Fly Creek right behind Publix there. And any of you that have been listening to this over the years know that this is a highly, highly controversial project. There's been 4 different lawsuits and another one pending. Anyway, Mr. Lucia showed, and people predicted flooding, all types of major issues. This is a brand new project, and he showed up and just really gave the city council an earful. What I thought was pretty condescending of the council was that Mr. Burrell, council president, and the entire council are the ones that helped put that apartment complex there against the city wishes, city consumers and citizens' wishes. And everything that's predicted has come true. And now Mr. Lucia has approached them with the fact that management is poor, maintenance is poor, and that his unit was flooded. This is a brand new building that
It sounds like the Biola Battery Housing Authority.
Yeah, I mean, it's really very, very bad. But what I thought was really, I wish I had been there, was that Mr. Burrell is the council president. So at the very end, he lets Mr. Lucia have his seat, and then when he sits down, he says, he looks at the city attorney and tells him, said, maybe we should research this. It does sound like it's maybe civil action. And he tries to put it off that way. Then he looks over at the mayor, current Mayor Wilson, and says, maybe the attorney and Mayor Wilson can look into this, and that's him passing the buck.
Well, as Joe Blow
And Harry, that's without him acknowledging to this individual all of the problems that have been going on for years and years and years with this project.
Well, not only that, but if you're a person who just moved to Fairhope and you move into an apartment complex
brand new,
that's you're the first person to ever live in that unit, I think the city's a fairly damn good place to start. If your house is being flooded the first week you move in it, I mean, I get it.
Right.
I get it.
Right. And then just one other observation. I don't want the people in the county to forget, we still have Baldwin County Sewer ruling the sewer. We have no regulations or laws regulating the sewers in Baldwin County. And then in addition to that, I've noticed at the mega site, I think we're going on to our 10th year now with the mega site, and there's been no current report at all other than a couple of weeks ago where the Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance said that they quoted in there that they had shown the property 60 to 70 times and that things were looking real good. Well, that kind of makes me think about fishing. If you go somewhere and you fish 60 or 70 times and you don't catch anything, maybe you should change your bait. You know what I'm saying?
Are you talking to Chris Elliott again?
No, this is Lee Lawson. Lee Lawson. I actually think Baldwin County
Notice I came to a complete stop at that stop sign while recording this. Go ahead.
But Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance should have to come to the to the county commission and give a detailed quarterly report to the citizens of Baldwin County as to what they're doing. The only time we see them is when they got their hand out for money or the title to you realize that they have the title in their hand to the mega site.
Right.
That's the only way they could finish off this development that is 9 years overdue.
Well,
so in the 2 weeks, in addition to the hurricane, nothing else changed. I can tell you that Fairhope better get ready to enter the dark ages because this city council is not going to tell you anything that they don't have to tell you. They are not. And if you go there to complain, you're going to be just like Jonathan Lucia. You're going to have a seat and you're not going to get an explanation. And the president of the council is going to pass a buck.
He said, maybe we ought to look into that.
Yeah, we'll look into that. How about you? We'll have the attorney and the mayor. Y'all look into that. Okay, let's adjourn. Both those are on the end, aren't they?
Well, we're going to throw them up on the end, yeah.
All right.
Yep. So I just had some footage that I wanted to share that I shot. And, of course, you had major damage.
I had major
damage. At your place.
That's how come I disappeared, folks, for 2 weeks. I helped a lot of people try to get themselves straight, and I lost a lot of really pretty trees in my yard. And personally, I got a little bit down in the dumps and self-pity for about 3 or 4 days, just thinking how long it was going to take me to clean up, which is going to be 6-7 months. But as soon as I traveled around the county and I saw how bad everybody else had it, I felt a little guilty for being sorry for my landscape. Thank God we didn't have anything hit the house. Now, that's one thing, Harry, that I thought was very, very unusual, was when you looked at the number of trees that were knocked down, and then you looked at the number of trees that hit houses, it was amazingly not that many compared to the trees that fell. I mean, when you look at the number of trees that fell, because I saw trees around houses that fell away from the house on 3 sides.
Yeah, I saw that too, but then I saw the one tree that fell that somebody centered the house up.
Oh, yeah.
There were a couple of those, too.
Oh, yeah.
Not everybody got out of this thing alive, so to
Well,
speak.
I lost in Hurricane Opal. I had gotten 2 oak trees from Sea Grove, Florida, where I was doing some hurricane work and landscaping. I brought them back and planted them on my property on both sides of a walkway, and about 40-inch diameter. and I lost one of those. And after I went out there and it's laying down across my whole cul-de-sac, I tell you, it was enough to make you cry. It was a tremendous, beautiful tree, and that's what I hated to see the most. The one thing that bothers me the most when I see damage like this is I lived in Central America for quite a while, and we threw nothing away. Nothing. I mean, it didn't make any difference what it is. We kept it, right? And when I see the tremendous amount of wood, pine, oak, pecan, some of the pecan orchards that went down, whole orchards and pine.
Yeah, I found a barbecue joint. So
Yeah.
and maybe we didn't do a good job of explaining this, and I know we didn't, but there are over 600 vessels on the bottom of the bay. Okay,
That many?
that's the figure I heard. That's why I asked you to run it down.
Yeah, I could.
Because it sounded extraordinary, but that's what I'm hearing.
Well, the other thing.
So just think about the fuel that got spilled.
Oh yeah.
And the one person that I hadn't taken it out on their ass yet is, besides Baldwin EMA, who decided not to turn the power off and tell people to get the hell out of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. You know, that's zone one. They just turn the power and water off, and they give you 24 hours notice. Say,
Right.
you've been ordered to evacuate.
Right.
You can sit there in the dark with no water if you want to.
They waited too
But we're
long.
not going to, right, they waited too long. There was no way to do that, but that was because of the failure of the National Weather Service.
Right. That's
And they get a lot of damn money. And, you know, I felt pretty confident Jim Cantore was sitting his ass down in New Orleans.
Yeah. Well, that happened before, you remember, in 2004, where we thought it was going to come up Mobile Bay, and then it wobbled just a little bit, and then bang, hit Pensacola.
Right.
You know, so, but I was totally unprepared. I was already reeling from the shock of my good friend losing his grandson, so I was kind of like in a little bit of a stupor there anyway, and I didn't expect the storm to be that much, but taught me a lesson.
Right. Well, it taught us also, besides a good bit of our fleet being out of commission for, I'd hate to speculate about that. It might have been a bunch of private boats that sank, but I would think some of the charter boats are out of commission. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the beach opened tomorrow, but not the public beach access because Gulf Place is still boondoggled. In other words, hey,
look,
come down and spend your money, but there's no bathroom at the public beach. Matter of fact, you can't even park at the public beach because the damn parking lot is gone.
Well, like I said, I spent 4 or 5 days in the Birmingham area, and I was amazed at the number of restaurants that have closed just due to the pandemic. So when you look at Gulf Shores and Orange Beach and their experience with the pandemic, and they're trying to run at 30, 40, 50%, well, anybody who's been in a restaurant business can tell you you're not going to make any money at that. You know, you're just staving off closing the doors. And now they've had this hurricane, and then, you know, a big consumer issue, of course, is insurance. You know, we told, okay, you got to have this flood insurance, and then you have to have your home insurance, and if you're below I-10, it's going to cost you a little bit more. So what happened is people found out that, or began to realize that their deductibles were $18,000, $20,000, $25,000, and they didn't have quite the damage. But then they looked in their front yard, and they got $5,000 to $8,000 worth of tree damage, and that's not covered.
Right.
So, you know, they're stuck. It amazes me. I don't know how everybody got the yards cleared, to tell you the truth, that they had that money under the pillow or what, but that cost a lot of people a lot of money to try to clear everything up. And I guarantee you this time next year, you still will see the remnants of Sally. Guarantee you.
So the other thing that I was going to bring up,
All right.
Biddo Farms and some of these other places where they have pecan trees.
Oh, yeah.
70% of their producing trees are gone, as
Yeah.
far as I can tell. You get down to Summerdale, other side of Summerdale, Church of Christ, all those pecan orchards are gone.
I know. I saw.
And
I
it'll
saw.
be how long does it take for a pecan tree to start producing anyway?
I think-
16, 17 years?
I'm not sure. But I remember my very first trip to the beach here. I think it was I lived in Tuscaloosa, and I believe it was 1964. And as soon as you hit Baldwin County, it was nothing, absolutely nothing but pecan orchards all the way almost to the bay on both sides of the road, all the way through Foley. And, you came on to, the bridge to go over, but they were pecan trees and orchards everywhere. They're all just about decimated now through the years. That's very, very sad. We don't have a pecan and then the Fairhope pecan place, what's the family name? Doggone it, I can't remember. Right there on 98 out of Fairhope. And I passed them, and all the trees around their plant and business there are knocked down. Every single
if
one
you
of them.
run around from your place, you go down 104, the Auburn Extension Research Center.
Correct.
All their trees are
Knocked them
are
down.
done.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do about that. Researching a bunch of pecan trees. They picked a bad spot to do it in.
Anyway, my theory is this: no matter how bad you got it, somebody else has got it worse. So try to use that to help you through whatever it is. Be very careful on your consumer stuff. FEMA is going to be offering certain things, so you'll have to check that out. One of the things that I saw too in Gulf Shores was apartment complexes that have flooded. The people were given like 2 weeks to get out.
Robertsdale.
And some of the units had flooded before. The apartment complex told them to have insurance for their apartment. However, it didn't cover their contents under flooding, and they never mentioned to them to have flood insurance. And now I've been told that some of the buildings wouldn't have been given flood insurance because they've flooded before, and those same people weren't even told that. So I don't know what's going to happen down there. But if
Sounds
you
like
live,
a whole bunch of force majeure to me.
yeah, I'm telling you. So some of the people lost their car, had their apartment flooded, had to move out of the apartment within 2 weeks, and couldn't move into another apartment because the complex was almost 100%. So they had to move out entirely for a month or 2 months till an apartment was coming available to go back in. So it's going to be a tremendous expense and a real pain for those people.
So to wrap
sorry
this
for
whole
them.
thing up, we have elections next Tuesday,
Right.
municipal runoffs.
Right.
There are only a few weeks left until the presidential election. We had the first, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Grudge match, internationally televised, completely embarrassed the country.
Oh.
I felt like it did.
It's a child slapping contest.
Child slapping contest. And now our president and first lady both have contracted SARS-CoV-2.
And they're supposed to quarantine 14 days prior to the election, and there's 2 or 3 venues open yet that the president wanted to go to. So we're going to see if he's going to adhere to his own rules or what he is going to do next.
Well, I have a feeling at 74 he's going to not be feeling too well in a few days.
Well, I liked his response to the first so-called debate. Somebody asked him, said, well, they're going to change the rules, and how are you going to abide by those rules? And he said, well, why would I abide by those rules? I won the first debate. So
somebody won it. I don't know who it was.
I was going to say, I don't believe anybody won that. I think what you could hear was collective screaming across the United States at the television, people screaming at their television for shut up and let's have a debate instead of a
and regardless of politics, we want everybody to survive
Correct.
the coronavirus.
Oh,
and get
absolutely,
better. And
absolutely.
It's extremely stressful and to a lot of people to think that the president, thinking that might be a possibility that he may become so ill that Pence has to take the reins for a while.
Well, I hope people do pay attention that the president has it because, he's given the impression that he's been immune to it. And a lot of people...
I guess taking hydrochloroquine for a placebo, for a prophylactic doesn't seem to do the trick.
Well, he can try the bleach. That might
That's
work.
not funny.
Well, he suggested it. Don't tell me he suggested it. That's his words, not my words.
Oh man. Well, I hate that we didn't have Rains on this time, but we'll get him next one. What you just going home to run the chainsaw? And people need to understand that there are still windrows on both sides of the road. Everywhere you drive here, there's logs and trees and brush just piled up waiting. And Bay Minette, and I know Fairhope has one, they have a debris contract that they award every year.
Correct.
Like contingent.
I think
upon.
that's with Crowder this year.
And they pay per yard of material removed.
Correct.
And here's another thing everybody needs to keep in mind: because of our air quality around here, we can't burn until November 1st. So all this kindling is going to be piled up and stockpiled somewhere. That they may set up an air curtain incinerator or do something that doesn't create a bunch of smoke. But as far as I know, nobody's supposed to be burning this stuff.
Well, you're talking months to get all this off the road. You know, I've heard people say, well, they're going to pick it up Friday. That was last week. They were going to start picking up Friday. I can tell you, it is going to literally take weeks, if not months, just to get it off the road.
I'm kind of glad Halloween got canceled because it is unsafe for children to walk down the right-of-ways in Baldwin County right now. And I don't know that they'll all be cleaned up by Halloween. That's how optimistic I am.
I think they should declare 2020 Halloween. The entire year. You know.
Trick or treat.
Yeah. Well, I hope that I'm getting out of my little bit of hurricane slump here, and get my piss and vinegar level back up again.
Yeah, it's been a challenge to keep your dander up.
I'm telling you,
whilst the world's falling down around your ears.
Right, and with the RIP report. I have, I didn't have power for well over a week and didn't have internet for close to 2 weeks. So this Freaky Friday today will be the first publication since prior to the storm. So that way I'll let everybody know that I'm alive and well on the RIP report.
And Governor Ivey, we love you. Please send us some help.
Yes.
All right. Y'all have a good one. And if you do see Governor Ivey, say something nice to her.
Right. Might help us in Baldwin County.
Thank you, Council. Public participation. If you have anything else to bring forth before the council, if you'll come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Jonathan Lucia, last name is spelled Lucia, 304 Fly Creek Avenue. Good evening, Councilman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you in this public forum. My name is Jonathan Lucia, and I relocated to Fairhope three months ago after being away from the area for the last 15 years. I'm delighted to be back close to Mobile Bay in this beautiful city, and appreciate all the positive comments around the support of the linemen and the city staff. I was very impressed myself with the recovery after the storm. I'm not here to request any specific action by the council, but to bring awareness through public forum to a pattern of negligent management of the Retreat at Fairhope Village complex, the new complex that I think you are all aware of. Up to this date, there's been a pattern of non-responsiveness to tenant maintenance requests, systemic accounting issues, no staff presence in the complex after business hours, a failure to install the planned vehicular security gate, unauthorized entry by contractors into individual units with no ID, overflowing trash with lack of scheduled pickups, an explicitly rude and dismissive attitude by the property management and property staff. As of this past Friday, both maintenance staff resigned due to reported conflict with management, which is consistent with regular staff turnover in all functional areas since the property opened. During Hurricane Sally, multiple units were flooded in Building 1 of the complex on the basement level. Approximately 60 hours after the storm concluded, residents were still residing in units with ankle-deep water with no clear communication and response from management. The fire alarm in the clubhouse went off after the power was restored for 15 hours straight with no response from management, despite a response from the City of Fairhope Fire Department. I and others have attempted multiple times to speak with someone in the Pegasus corporate office in Atlanta. Pegasus is the residential property management company out of Alpharetta, Georgia, with no response. My research to determine who the owners, developers of the complex are, or a means to contact them has not been successful. Appreciate the time today to bring awareness to the issue in the public forum. I do predict without a change in our systemic improvement by the management, conditions will continue to deteriorate and will negatively impact the city of Fairhope. The property is beautiful. They did a good job with it. It did meet a need for me as a professional returning to the area. I do plan to be a longtime resident in Fairhope, eventually purchase a home here. So it was a good temporary place for me to live. But unfortunately, it's just deteriorated. And so once again, I'm here to just bring awareness. I recognize that the city council, there's not any necessarily an action you can take. I don't think there's any property tax incentives that would give you leverage, but I just want to gain awareness, and hopefully through awareness we'll get the right attention of the right people so that they can take some necessary action. There are elderly people that live on the complex, and I'm here to speak for them and others who are unable to advocate for themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would just say, based on those comments, if there's any staff that heard comments that think that we may need to address, to please, I'd ask the mayor to ask the staff to address that. And I know some of those may be mostly civil matters. You may want to address that, Mr. McDowell. But it sounds like a lot of civil matters, but there may have also been intertwined in there some other public safety type matters as well. So might just give that some thought and see if there's anything, Mayor, just give that some thought and see if there's anything that you would need to do. Is there anyone else that'd like to approach the council? Okay, seeing no one else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, council.